welcome to the program, back to the program, Adriana Garza. Look at how beautiful you are in like 2.5 years.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
How long?
So help us out. Help me out. You sent me a bio. I'm a loser. I can't find it. Because there are many things in your bio. Why can't I find it?
You are far from a loser. You're actually the reason I'm sitting here today, able to do this.
No.
So,
go ahead.
Very true. You and Chris Gibson and a whole bunch of Texas people got us here today. Bio in regards to what I used to do pre-Austin that is now all about him, which I thought I wouldn't be doing again, and I'm super grateful that I'm able to do it again. So prior to him, I was in production, and I had a film that premiered at the Rome Film Festival that won a competition, and then an international film competition from the author of The Alchemist, and I also had a play called The Art of Being prior to that, which won an award from Glamour magazine, and actually won a car, which still to this day is like surreal to say. And then he was born, and my world became all about him. And he opened up my eyes to a world that is within, reach that I knew nothing about. And so that's where I'm at today, is focusing on making sure that he's included and seen and heard in the world, and everyone that he's revealed.
We talk about this all the time about how, your life is moving along, and then you have your child, and that changes everyone. When you have a child, it changes you. But then when your child is diagnosed with autism or something else that is life-changing, because let's face it, that's life-changing, everybody rises to the occasion in different ways. And there are some people that say, okay, I'm whatever it takes. And when I talk to any expert, when I talk to anybody working in the field, they say that it's moms and dads like that keep them going. And it's funny, Adriana, because I always think of you. That I always think of you because you are, I'm going to get misty here, but you are one of those parents. We talk a lot here about things and we put ideas out to people, but you are somebody who was like, tell me anything. And then I was always amazed at what you went and did, and how you took advice, and how you have been relentless, and you, there is no give in you, woman. You are on his team and relentless and fighting for him. Every breath you take, I know that it's about him and making sure that he has what he needs. And as you said, that he's seen and heard. He's a wonderful young man, and he's very lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know you're lucky to have him. I know that.
Beyond. Every time that someone says that to me, and I'm like, and I have the greatest teacher I've ever had in the world, like as my child, and the world he opened me up to, and the things he's taught me, and things, honestly, quite frankly, we both know I wouldn't have known had he not come into my life and shown me a different way of being, which, by the way, it's a very neurodiverse world. It's just a very template structured society. And it's time that people start realizing that it's very diverse. And, I've had a lot of experiences where, for lack of better terminology in this moment, the world tries to even unsee him in plain sight, because everything is so structured. And I don't blame people, because I was on that boat. And if it weren't for him, what would I know, right? But now that I know, it is literally my purpose and my mission to make sure that the more people know, the better. I always say, the more you know, the less you'll stare, the more you'll care.
Oh, I love that.
He's very different, and people stare. And it does me no, there's moments when I haven't slept in weeks. I do have moments where I'm like, stop staring at my child. But more than anything, it's, he's different. I get it. He catches your eye. I hope he's teaching you something. I hope you're learning from what you're watching, that there's different ways of being a human being. It's very simple, as complex as it seems to be for society, because we're structured such a certain way.
I mean, even when we talk about IEPs, and an IEPs, it stands for Individualized Education Program. And yet we all know we have to go in and fight for something that is individualized for our child, because the school constantly tries to stick our kids into boxes. Well, we have this program and we have this program, and your child doesn't really fit in either one of these programs, so we're going to put them in this program. And we as parents have to say, let's remember what this is called, the individualized education program. All right, so I get on that soapbox, but you're here today
Wait, I
to,
have to tell you really quickly that I
yeah.
think of you often in IEPs because
Oh
I
no.
reached out to you one time and I was like, Shannon, I just really had it with this one person trying to exactly like box my son in, and this isn't what this is about. And I said this, and you're like, oh, honey, please. And then you mentioned something you had said to me, and it was so like in an IEP because I felt so horrible. It is very frustrating sometimes to think these are the people that chose to help my son, and yet they come into the room and they're like, we're going to do it this way. And it's like, I am sorry, it can't be done that way for him. He's clearly showing you he's different.
Yeah.
So I think of you often in IEPs. And
Was it helpful, whatever I said?
oh, it was just because I had felt bad about what I had said to the person in the moment, and
Oh,
you're just saying to me,
uh,
"Oh, don't worry,
yeah.
I've done this or
No.
that."
No, I've said things to people that their hair is still singed. So like we try to be our best selves always, but when we are warriors in battle on our kids' behalf, sometimes some fur flies. And I've had to forgive myself for that. So please forgive yourself. And I think that, you know what? I don't know about you, but the good educators that I went through the system with, that I pushed and pushed and pushed and said, no, do it this way,
Mhm, mhm,
because that's the way my kid needs
mhm.
it. The good educators came back and thanked me later and said, I'm so glad that you pushed, because I was 100% sure that what you said wasn't going to work, and yet it did. And now I've learned. Um, my fear is that then they're going to go to the next parent and say, well, I'm going to do it the way Shannon said to do it, not the way the
Mhm,
kid
mhm.
needs it. It's like, where's the individualized thing? Anyway, we got to talk about, you've got a new project. So
Right.
tell us what this project is and what you're doing.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, honestly, to you. I have to tell you this because I'm pretty sure that you don't remember or you may not remember, but you need to know this because
Okay.
this is why I'm able to be here today. I was moving in between apartments in Texas, and we had mold and spiders in certain situations, and he was epileptic at the time, and obviously nobody should be in mold, but he could definitely not be in mold. And you called, um, and I was devastated because I was doing all the moving. As you know, everything in Texas, the laws, didn't benefit Austin, and I did a lot of things on my own and had to run auctions and had to run GoFundMe's, and the custody agreement didn't favor us, and a lot of things happened. But I was in the midst of literally falling apart as I'm moving our stuff, and I'm talking to you, and I cannot remember why you called, but I can remember that you said to me, "You are on a mission, and you and that child," and I'm trying not to get misty now,
Mm.
"are going to be doing something big. You have been asked to do something big." And it was just, and in that moment, I could have never known what you were referring to because in that moment, I was like, I'm just trying to make sure he has his therapy and trying to make sure he has these medically, prescribed hours that the attorney general isn't taking seriously and they're not, asking for support from anyone else. And I'm having to do it all. I'm just trying to make sure that who he is seen, heard, understood, and supported. So here I am today, flash forward, August will be 3 years that we arrived in LA, and I'd lived here before. So for me, it was common sense to bring him here because of the vast resources, including the regional center and ABA being covered, which is not covered in Texas. And all of a sudden, last fall, two people from my life, three people came back from my hometown just like simultaneously, 30 years after having seen them. And I
Mm.
was kind of reawakened and realized I wasn't kind of, I was reawakened and I realized, okay, I'm more than this autopilot person that, Texas, because of the way the laws are written, wasn't benefiting who I was and was suppressing who I was. And it, all became, is rightfully so, about Austin, but also in a detrimental way when the laws don't aid the situation. So they came back into my life. My best friend Amy, my friend West, my friend Miguel all came back into my life. And all of a sudden, I felt like I've got this. Miguel has been a big influence in getting investors in my past projects. And I had this idea inside of me for a while. And I just kept thinking, we just had a bout of 2 weeks where he didn't sleep.
Mm.
And so I kept thinking, how am I going to do this? And then it became more about, I've got to do this. My eyes have been opened to too much in the last 10 years to not do this. And so I had this idea inside of me, which I don't want to talk about too much. It's still, my baby.
You're still in the building phases. Yeah.
Yeah. But we are going to be filming the trailer for it. And the leads are entirely neurodiverse, different abled children. I know it's commonly known as disabled, but I say different able because Austin has taught me that he does things differently at his own pace.
Yep.
So we literally have these phenomenal children, and everyone is inspired by someone, but also a combination of many things I've seen on this journey. So, and we've got their caregivers, and we're going to be showing the world that we are here and we don't need to hide from plain sight, and that the more you see us and the more that you acknowledge that we're just humans doing things differently, the more we can coexist and come from a place of love, in my humble opinion, and choose, to instill in future generations that being different is more than okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, my purpose is to give, like I always say, I have to shed light on Austin. I have to shed light on him because people are like, there he is, but no. I'm like, no, but look, it's just different. He uses a communication device, but he can say it. It's just simply different. So along the way, I've met, people with Asperger's, and I met people who, walk differently and, use the ability of assistance from a wheelchair. I've just seen different ways of doing things. And
Yeah.
that's what this is about. This is about showing you kids who are kids, like everyone else. They're just doing things differently. So we've got a vast range of roles I'm trying to cast. Obviously, when the breakdown went out, I had 200 submissions like that, and it was mostly neurotypical. So
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
I was like, I need to get the word out that we're doing this project, that, in the long run, the leads are going to always be the children and the caregivers in whatever format they come, whether it's a grandparent, where it's the actual parent, but it's shedding light on this is what it takes for our life to work. And I feel that a lot of what we see on TV right now, because people say, oh, have you seen this or have you seen that? That's great. Let me show you what it's going to take for us to potentially get a good doctor out of the scenario, for potentially to get some, our kid in college. This is the journey that nobody's talking about, that I'm literally still living, and that many people are living. And I feel like we feel, even the parents feel unseen. And so it's important that everybody know we're part of this world. I don't know if there was a professor that posed a great question. Are the numbers high because it's really rising, or are the numbers higher because the difference? And that's my thing. It's a great question. I don't know, but I know that neurodiversity is here and it's not going anywhere. And so
That's right.
I'm here to, to aid in any way that I can, because I've got the greatest guide and teacher ever showing me that it's time.
Well, I love that you're going to put a flashlight on this. So we're not going to talk about too many specifics about the project, but the people who ultimately are involved, you'll share it with. But we're not going to put everything out there. But you are casting. I understand that the thing that the trailer that you're going to be shooting is going to shoot the end of July, early August. Do you know where you're going to be shooting? And if someone who doesn't live near there, talk to us about who you're looking for and what the different credentials that they need to have are, because do they need to live close enough that they can do that? And should we show the flyer? He's got so let's put the flyer up, and I think we can make this available too with a link. Maybe.
And I can do a brief rundown of, because, obviously I created these characters and I'm in love with these children, but I'm looking for Finn, who is 4 to 8 years old, and he's Caucasian. He loves all things cars, and he is an introvert, but a very fast talker. Again, 4 to 8 years old, Caucasian. Asher is 10 to 15 years old. She is blind, and she's a tomboy, and she loves everything to do with her grandfather, because that's who's raising her. Lago is 12 to 15 years old. She is, I like to say, official diagnosis is Asperger, because Austin, again, has taught me a lot, right? But the official diagnosis is Asperger, but she loves all things that have to do with space. Think about Griffith Park Observatory. Think about talking about planets, hanging out with her father, Easton. She loves being with him. He is very protective of her and has put her into martial arts. So that's Lago. 12 to 15 years old, Caucasian. Maximo is 7 to 10. He has Down syndrome. His mama is very sassy. As a matter of fact, his mama is very Shannon Penrod to me.
I love it.
And he takes after her. Beatrix is 12 to 15 years old. She's Hispanic. She is also on the autism spectrum. She likes to repeat things when people say them. And she
Okay.
loves watching videos and she loves being in the comfort of her home. Danielle, 7 to 9, is cerebral palsy in a wheelchair. That role is open to all ethnicities. And
Okay.
last but not least, there's a little young boy named Enrique, 4 to 6 years old, uses a communication device. Due to the nature of what was written and the scenes for it, that is the only role I am asking for an actor for, Shannon. I think you'll understand that SIB is something that you don't ever want to trigger. And
Yes.
so I made the decision consciously to not ask for someone that is on the spectrum for the 4 to 6 year old.
Okay. And everybody's writing in how excited they are. Hello, Sharon and
Mhm.
Johanny. They're very excited about that. So, where are you going to be shooting this?
So Los Angeles County, and honestly, it's going to range anywhere from Pasadena to like Woodland Hills.
And about
My
how many days shoot are you anticipating for the trailer?
So it's a 2 week shoot to make sure that we have everything, but obviously everybody's not. I'm calculating right now that each character will be needed like 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Everybody's not going to be needed for the entire 2 weeks. My priority, and the director knows this, he's in England right now shooting a film, but my priority is making sure that everything is safe, accommodated, and done in a manner that is supportive in an environment we know is crucial. So I
Yeah,
want to make sure that all that
absolutely.
is taken care of for everyone. There's
So
definitely
you either need to live in Los Angeles or you
Mhm,
need to have family or friends that you can
mhm,
stay within Los Angeles to be able to submit.
correct.
And we do have an email there on the screen right now, but it's a little bit small for people. You can go to a website, www.adrianagarzaproductions.com. But is there
Literally on
also
the landing page, you can email me. When you get on the homepage, there'll be a way my email's there, phone number,
okay?
form to submit, but the email is adriana@adrianagarzaproductions.com.
Okay. So, if you guys know someone that you feel
Mhm,
would be appropriate for these roles, do yourself a favor and help Adriana out and submit and let her know that you're interested in being a part of this project. At this point, and with this trailer, there is no pay. Let's be clear about that. But
mhm.
this is how a lot of projects, if you live in LA, you know this is how a lot of projects get started, and that sometimes it turns into pay down the road. So, but worthwhile if you have a kiddo that's on the spectrum and you are wanting them to be in the field. I assume a lot of times copy and credit is what we say in LA when you're not getting paid, that you get copy and credit. I assume that they're getting that copy and credit.
Correct. Yes. Mhm.
That means
Correct.
you'll get a copy of something to be able to send out to prospective agents, and you will be credited in it, which is very important.
I
Um,
do just wanna say briefly, Shannon, that
yeah,
because this is already lined up to be pitched to, streamers and some people, that are, high ranking in the industry that I've known for a very long time. One of them happens to be my elementary and high school principal's niece, who he recommended I get in touch with when I moved out to LA
oh
20
wow,
some years ago. And she's, VP of international, one of the streamers. So anyway, so the one thing that I do want people to know is that we will provide you copy as soon as possible, but it may not necessarily happen right away because of the nature of the project,
sure,
how it's never been done before, and we want to make sure that we stand a chance to get this to the right people before we
absolutely,
start getting it out in
absolutely.
the world.
Yes, copy usually takes a really long time. So there we go.
Mhm.
But kind of an amazing project. And I just got to salute you that in amongst everything else that you've been doing in COVID, because this was a hard time for caregivers.
Oh my God, yeah.
This was a hard time for young people on the spectrum, and there were service interruptions and things like that. The fact that you found the time to be working on all of this, it just goes to show that you are superhuman, uh, and that you're one of those moms. You're just not going to let it go. And I just love and respect that with all of my being.
Well,
Um,
you. It takes
Well,
one to hear one. Like, seriously, I was listening to you because I was watching the entire program before I came on, and I was like, she's just, I think I know something. And I listen to Shannon, and I'm like, but it's necessary. People need to pave the way for us. People need to open the door. People need to inform us. You were such a, well, I can't say it enough. And I don't think that I'll ever honestly have words to express what you meant to us. But I was, and I think you might see a difference from when I came into the studio when I first got here in 2019. I literally thought I was going to die. There was no, he wasn't sleeping, insurance therapy wasn't paid for. There was just no support system in Texas. Absolutely. Because they don't fully grasp what's happening and that the numbers are rising and that we need support. And there's no laws. They're so outdated that actually help me. That, those phone calls where you would be like, try this grant or do this or do, you kept me afloat. His Texas
well,
care team kept me afloat. I cannot sit here and do this project justice and say that I would be here if it wasn't for you guys. I
well,
have big
that's
more
so
to thank
sweet.
you guys.
But we also have to say, I mean, a lot of people call me up and, Texas has been, an interesting place. I'm going to say that, right.
I lived
Um,
it. I'm gonna tell
right.
my story.
Right. But there was a certain point when you were, because what you were doing, just so people know, Texas had first was not paying for any ABA. And then
Mhm,
Texas did something where they said, okay, we're gonna start a grant and we're going to give families a very small amount of ABA because we just don't think that people will take it seriously. That was
mhm,
sort of the
mhm,
asterisk that they didn't put out publicly, but and they've changed the grant. The grant still, as far as I know, exists, but it's changed so many times. And it's
mhm,
an exercise in frustration because
mhm.
they would give people like 3 to 4 hours a week. Then it was, well, we'll give you, people
Okay.
complained and said, we don't have enough. Then we'll give you 10 hours a week, but then you'll do 6 months on and 6 months off, which
Mhm,
there's no research to show that would be effective. In fact, there's research to show why that isn't effective,
mhm,
that people need consistency. So it's been a very frustrating time for a lot of families in Texas. So we started trying to come up with ideas to give people to work around it.
mhm,
And we were saying, well, now that you know that ABA works, you can get private insurance, but that's expensive.
mhm,
But if there's a
mhm,
way for you to do that, go and get private insurance. So we said that to probably 10,000 parents, Adriana. And Adriana was like, okay, where am I going to get this insurance? And then we had to scurry to go, well, okay, where can you, which company can give you this insurance? And that was a scramble. And then you turned around and did a fundraiser to pay for the insurance premium. And we were like, look at her, like she's getting it done. So then when we would talk to parents, we would say, well, here's what one parent is doing. So because you did that, more parents went and did that. You were making a change. And then when you got to the next place where it was frustrating to you and you weren't getting enough, we say this to a lot of families. Well, one of your options is to move to California, but obviously that's a hard thing and not everybody can do that. And the next time I blinked, you had packed and you were moving to California. And I was like, oh my gosh. But we have to be honest, when you got to
mhm.
California, it was not easy because to
And
get services started was a nightmare on Elm Street. And you waded through that. You waded through it all. When I say there is no give in this woman, you guys, I'm not kidding. And at
mm,
some point, I got to just say this to you that I think, you're getting all these other projects done, but at some point, girl, your life is a Lifetime movie. You should be pitching to Lifetime. I'm serious. I'm
well,
totally serious.
I'm laughing because this is, the pilot for this TV series because I feel we need to be in people's faces every week. I don't think that,
Yeah.
one just 2 hours is going to do justice to the entire journey
Yeah.
of what we have to live on a daily basis. And the other thing I really want, Sharon, as you're speaking and you're reminding me, is I want people to know they're not alone. I felt very alone. I didn't, if it weren't for the support at the Westlake card at the time and yourself, I don't know what would have happened because that's when I started getting sued left and right and so many things started happening that were out of my control that while I was trying to understand Austin and make sure that he was helped. But one of the end goals is, as we're speaking, is if the more I can and show and reveal and just shed light, because we're here again. I'm not asking you to see something that's not real. This is very real. This is everyday
Yeah.
life for us. And
Yeah.
the more that we can hopefully get in there and somehow change the laws in Texas are very outdated. And
Yeah.
the non-custodial parent doesn't have to pay child support for 3 months. And if they have their own business, then we can't do anything about it. And it's a template agreement. There's no special needs attached to it. And it's one thing after another. And I went to court and represented myself and I won because I was the first time, and then it's been nonstop. But I was determined to say, this is not okay. My son did not choose this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be okay with the world turning their back on him.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. And that's
Well,
where you were talking earlier about how we realize when we're mamas, oh, I have this level of capacity and tenacity and strength I didn't know existed because he's an innocent. I had a woman tell me the other day, because I like to tell people you can't park on the ramp. It's not there for that. It's not there for you to park and unload. It's there for people that need it with a wheelchair. And she got very upset with me and she told me, that she could park there, and it escalated and she started, videoing me and etc. And I kept thinking to myself when I went to go see my papa, and I told them, I said, you're saying that an 8-year-old nonverbal child that did not choose any of this has less value than you, and
yeah.
that you can park and block because you're so entitled. And then when I took a deep breath, more motivation to do this project,
Yeah.
because people simply choose ignorance.
Yeah.
And obviously entitlement, you think you can block the ramp and there's no problem with that. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother level, right? But us parents, we need more support. We do, and Texas is definitely one of those states that needs to support more. So if I can shed light on everything that happened to me and hopefully down the law aid, and that's one of my goals too, is aid in changing these laws that, again, our children didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah.
And we are all showing up and doing the best that we can. Um,
Amen.
and
Amen.
I appreciate everything you say about me. I have to learn. My therapist tells me to receive compliments. So thank you.
Yeah.
But
Take the
also I
compliment.
turn it back to you guys, because at that moment, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know that I'd be sitting there. I really don't.
There we go. Well, and I'm sending love to Amanda who says, yeah, it's not fun in Texas.
We're
Well,
gonna do
what
this,
we,
Shannon.
we keep working on it. We keep working on
We're gonna do
it. And
Change is
that's,
here. I don't say
yeah,
change is coming. I said change is here. We're here.
that's right. That's right. And we are the change. We are the people we've been waiting for. Right? That was our theme a couple of
Good.
weeks ago. In any case, we are out of time because
Thank
time flies when we're having fun. But if you want to know more about this project, if you have someone that you feel fits the requirements that Adriana was talking about, she wants to cast this authentically. That is the
you.
mission.
Mhm.
And so she's reaching out in several different ways across the community. I hope, Adriana, that you have gotten in touch with, I have their card around here somewhere. There is the theater group that I
What?
love so
She came.
much in Los Angeles. That is it called? They just changed their name. It used to be Rex and Friends, but they do work with the autism community and the blind, and with military vets who are differently
Perfect.
abled.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to be talking to them because they might have some of the people that you're looking for your casting. I'll see if I can find the business card. It was just here on my desk. I'll
Thank
find it and forward it to you. But there it is on the website. For those of you who are listening in podcast, it's Adriana, Adriana Garza, Garza productions.com. Go there. You'll be able to contact her directly from there. You'll be able to see the casting breakdown by going there. And all roads that you need to go on will get you there from adrianagarzaproductions.com. So
Shannon,
please do that. Yes. Yes.
that's because so you can see how, since you
Uh,
last saw him, wait, wrong way. Do you see the
wow.
differences?
He's a handsome young man.
He
It's
is
been
a
like 2.5 years.
Yeah, yeah, it was right before COVID, and then COVID, and we were all home. So I
Yeah.
moved here perfect timing, because COVID in Texas would not have been good to me. So,
Well,
yeah, no,
I'm
divinely
glad that
timed.
I'm
Everybody's
glad you're flourishing. And you're clearly flourishing, and so is he. So sending you much love. Please reach out and be a part of this project, and we'll look forward to hearing more about it. I gotta go, but hey, we're back tomorrow, and what we're talking about tomorrow is building language. It's a parent to parent talk about how do we build language in our kiddos that have no language or have only a little language. That's what we're focusing on tomorrow. So I hope that you guys will join us then. We thank Adriana Garza for being with us as well and providing information, and we'll be back tomorrow. But until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.